Hello. Hi, I'm Michael. I'm an entrepreneur, small business owner, improv artist, mental health surviving, wannabe actor, and as always, I'm very, very neurotic. But I'm also a TV host and your host for what we call the Second Scene Podcast. It is a Dweebs Global production. This is why we do the podcast. Dweebsglobal.org. You can go for free mentorship help, anything from resume writing to mental health, which is something we will cover today. But please, dweebsglobal.org. That's why we do this. So I'm here today with Joan and Jane, better known as the Therapy Twins. They have been psychiatric nurse practitioners for over 20 years. They studied at Columbia University and are published in peer-reviewed journals in the US and England. They also very much understand on a personal level depression, anxiety, and all the fun mental health issues a lot of us suffer. And since 2020, they have taken much of what they've learned over the years, left their day jobs, and figured out a way to add humor to this delicate subject with humorous writings, comedy tours, and more. So please welcome Joan and Jane.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we were just talking before we went live about about the stigma of mental health issues. And maybe, I know they're changing over the years, but they're definitely still there. And
yes, because, hundreds of years ago, I think, don't quote me on the dates, of course, but we watched this fabulous movie where if you had a mental illness or even a hint of it, you had to get locked up. And of course, it looked like a castle because it was over in Europe, but you were locked there for the rest of your life.
Oh, so you wouldn't reproduce?
So I think that things have changed a little bit.
But the stigma is really there. It still is. People pretend that it's okay, and then they just gossip behind your back, which is okay.
That's very true. I never even really thought I didn't even think about that, but that's incredibly true.
One of the reasons I think that I like to, just come right out and say what's wrong with me. I mean, and I welcome other people to, add to that, things I don't know. And one of the reasons I like to do that is because once you've said it yourself, gossiping behind you isn't as much fun. The gossipers and gossipies, it's not as much fun when, she already said that. She admitted she had over 50 partners, whereas the rest of us are trying to say, I haven't had 50, but give me enough time as a hot chick, I could have. But, they joke that we cut our numbers down. We minimize what's wrong with us and why. Somebody once said to me, Jane, when people say, hi, how are you? They really don't want to hear you. And that was at work. And I was a psych nurse, I was like, I know, but I kind of like to say it.
Do you think it takes a level of self-awareness for people to sometimes admit it? I always kind of questioned what self-awareness was too. Like, are people in denial when they're not self-aware, or are they knowingly hiding things, or?
People can only see what they're ready or willing to see at that moment. Let me put it on the funnier note. Growing up as an identical twin, you get a label. Who's the smart one? Who's the fat one? Who's the calm one? All those kinds of things. And Joan was born a comedian, so she's a natural.
Though no one would know that right now.
Well, she's really not. Well, she'll get funny. Give her a second. So anyway, I was in my late 30s. And I had a little verbal argument with someone who was trying to tell me how funny I was. And I was like, you've got this all wrong. I am not funny at all. Joan is the funny one.
So I think that's called just a dysfunctional family or relationship.
So I had to willingly open my eyes and kind of tilt my head like, maybe I am. Maybe I have that a little bit of a dry sense of humor or something sarcastic sense. But I opened my eyes and, I really do believe I have a little bit of humor. Normally I'm the straight man for her funny.
But I think your question was are people in denial maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Sure we are. And we can't see past our nose. So what's interesting and unfortunate in psychiatry is if you spot that stuff, you have it. In AA, they say you spot it, you got it. If you say that in an argument, there'd be things flying like baseball bats and acid and shit, because it's really hard to look at yourself. Yes. Look at the man in the mirror. It's really hard.
And denial is not always a bad thing. Denial is protecting yourself from being on I-95 or crossing the Q Bridge into New Haven to East Haven and Madison, that area. At rush hour, it's terrible.
I think it's how my mother survived her kids' childhoods. My childhood is by being in denial of the things I was doing. And I've seen other parents do it too. I had a best friend that got in trouble all the time, but according to his mom, he was the most perfect boy in the world. So yeah, denial is a great thing, but it's for yourself. I also just see people that I'm like, how are you so not self-aware? And then I look at myself and I'm like, I believe I'm really self-aware, but I could totally be wrong about that.
Well, one way you can check on that is ask people closest to you, like your siblings, a parent, a best friend. And you can say, because I used to say to my son, as he was growing up, I'd say, hey, sweetie, could you critique me as a parent? Because I was thinking I was a good parent. And then he would say, oh, and I loved the time where he said, I'm sure there's something, but I can't think of it right now. And in my head, I'm like, oh, I am the best parent. And then he got a little older and he did point a couple of things out to me. And, I argued, of course. Then I caught myself. One of the best times was when he says, Mom, you can't take a joke.
And she couldn't.
And I couldn't. And I had to look at that. I didn't have to. I chose to look at that.
That's the other thing. People can choose to be self-aware or they can choose not. Sometimes it's great. You're in your own fantasy world. That can work out for you too.
Remember,
if we have an older sister and we just call her Dorothy. She played Dorothy as a child in the neighborhood play, and she has continued her life as no matter what it was still half full and wonderful. And I just was so negative compared to her. And it took me, physical illnesses and everyone hating me. No one wanted to be around me. And then I finally got a little bit of help, just a little bit.
I forgot what, I was in some coaching group and we did a project where we sent 10 of our friends and family a message just being like, hey, tell us something about ourselves that, might not be positive. And most of the people just wanted to say something positive, or they would say it's like one real little thing negative and the rest positive. And it was like, oh, I'm super self-aware. I know this all about myself. But I had one friend who was incredibly honest and was telling me how I complain about first world problems too much, is essentially what he said in a much more delicate and thought out way. But it was really fascinating just to read his, and I took so much from it, and it wasn't offending. And it was so neat to see somebody say something about me that I wasn't as self-aware about. And I thought it was so super helpful.
Yeah, I think all humans are naturally scientists, and we naturally experiment with food, with the way we talk to people and stuff. And so in that science is observation. And that's why I think that our friends and family, they're not that far off sometimes when they critique us, because they've been observing us for a long time.
If you changed, though, as an adult, sometimes the holidays are wonderful because all it is now, if you don't revert back to childhood, there's something wrong with you. I got called a lot of names this Thanksgiving. It was wonderful. So which made me realize, no, I did grow from that. That was pretty ugly.
Well, Joan, you said you were a very negative person for so long, and I know so many of us fall into that trap, and I know I do. I feel like at home I can be that way with my family, and people fall into the traps. I don't know if sometimes it's like your entire life, but it's like almost like the places you are. Like I'm a negative person there constantly. Like how
negative, and a lot of people call themselves realists, and I wouldn't lie to myself. Oh, because I would do way other things. I would steal, and I don't do that anymore. I was a terrible. Anyway, I was very negative, where people would say, can't you even start with something to do with love? I didn't even like the word. The word love repulsed me. I wouldn't go in a church. I thought I would self-ignite. I just didn't. If a man held the door for me, I was like, what is wrong with you? It's horrible. I was Jane Fonda wrapped up with, who's angry? The devil. I was just like with the devil. In fact, I gave the devil a chance too, because I don't even believe in one God. I'm like, who the heck is that? And Jesus is the Son, and he died for our sins. See how now I'll get so negative. I'm with Bill Burr on that. He's the boss's son. Like, wow, who the heck wants to meet that? Anyway,
I do.
A patient said to me once when I was still working, Joan, have you read the Tibetan Book of the Dead? And I thought to myself, do I look like I read? Like, my ADD, I normally let somebody else read and then tell me about it. But I did have to read for school. Anyway, the Tibetan Book of the Dead shows that if you're that negative and you don't accept love, I think they give you 5 chances. Your soul, if you believe this, goes into an animal, and not your cat or dog, domestic. I mean outside. And it was called Brute Life. It's horrible. Anyway, I had to change after that because I don't want to be a bunny just taking it for the team and stuff, So
what does that mean to accept love? Because it's easy. It still feels abstract to me. Like it still feels.
Yeah, I think you have to be really. You have to. I want to change the word love, and I did when I was younger. If a guy wanted to hang or get laid or something, they would have to tell me that they were fond of me, but they had to say overwhelmingly fond, because there was a dictionary that said that was one of the definitions of the word love. You see how difficult it was living with me? I mean, I just should be by myself, but I'm changing.
But I still want to know how you got out of the negativity, because I don't hear negativity now from you. I hear, it's funny how negative I was.
Give it a few more minutes.
No, how? Oh, this is wonderful. I had a couple of breast cancer scares and nobody liked me. The 2 most important people were my twin sister and my ex-husband, but I have another sister. She would say she is also the most important. They didn't like me anymore. So for fear of being all alone, I had to open up a book and start looking at it. And it was a self-help book called You Can Heal Your Life. And I did. It took me like 14 years before I started seeing the results of the work. That's how negative I was. Jane, it probably took her a couple of days.
I have a little bit of a story, I guess I should say, because remember with twins, if one is one thing, the other one gets labeled the opposite. So because she was so angry, a lot of people thought that I was this loving, kind person. And don't get me wrong, I appreciated this rumor going on around about me. I have a kid and everything. I've had pets. I've been married before. Anyway. So deep down, I'm thinking, isn't this interesting? Because I hate everything and everyone, including myself, but I did not. And then I had a son. Okay. So then I get pregnant. I don't even want to be pregnant, but I decide I'm going to have the baby. And I'm grateful that prior to this, I had a boyfriend that I had a very nice argument, not physical, but verbal, really badly though, because he told me that, for your information, Jane, love is a choice. And at that time in my life, I'm like, I don't know who the heck you think you are, but that's not true. So then I remembered those words when I deliver this human, and I am so out of it. I feel like I was in shock. I was supposed to have a cesarean, and the rinky-dink hospital didn't set the room up in time, whatever. So it wasn't the best labor and delivery, but so I tried to fake it till I made it, in terms of pretending, I'm a nurse. I took, psych and medicine,
classes.
Right? So I know that sometimes parenting is acting. And so I knew that was important for a baby to bond. I did all this stuff, skin to skin contact, etc. And the funny thing is after I don't know how long, I actually fell in love with my child. And that was one of the biggest turning points for me in my life, because falling in love with Adam, which is hilarious, because one of my nieces who does not have children was just talking with Joan, who does not have children, and I was there, and they were talking about what's wrong with mothers of sons. And Megan coined it and said, I think that every mother falls in love with her son. It's true. It's true if you allow it. And so it doesn't have to be a sick, weird, twisted thing, although it obviously is, right? But anyway, then I realized I had the capacity for love. And what I realized was I never allowed anyone to love me. They tried to, but I had that nice brick wall around me. And I will always freely admit that I never liked myself, hated myself. I would rather have been Joan or Joanne rather than Jane, anyone. So, that's how I accepted love, and I've been practicing ever since. I'm very grateful that both parents, before they passed away, I truly loved them, and I think they felt it. I think they did. My mom and I had a little discussion about 24 hours before she took her last breath. And it was something like, Ma, I thought you didn't like me. And she said, no, I thought you didn't like me. And it was a beautiful, painful, sad, but very glorious moment now. Thank you. That's how I accepted love.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can relate to a lot of that.
So a couple times Joan had a client that wasn't bonding with her baby, and Joan, I don't know what Joan said, but it was like, Jane, come on over here. And the question was usually that I would have to admit that, no, I did not fall in love with this little ball of 8 pounds, 13 ounces, 23.5 inches long human right away.
So much
I didn't.
Pressure in life to do it. Everything has to be done the way these few people, whoever they are, the way they think it is. And, constantly people would say, but you can't do it that way. You can't do this. You can't do that. Watch me. I just fucking did it. Like, keep telling me I can't. Did it. So when I was going to get married, I didn't want to be married. But, we were born in 1960 and the neighbors were talking. You can't go on vacation with a man because, you might have been having sex and that's a sin. So unless Jesus's mother was able, oh, that's right. That's the whole story. She didn't have sex, right? That's my problem with the Bible. Anyway, I didn't even tell anybody I got married. I just said, let's just get married. We were going to Italy for some reason. Nope, France for a wedding. What a bore. And I didn't change my name. I didn't get the same checking account. Everything was the same. I didn't sleep in his room.
And what's
the point is everybody puts stigma upon you if you don't do it. Somebody told me at a party, a picnic, she just met me that day, and she says, oh, you're not in love with your husband. So you think a prepositional phrase, which I think in starts a I'm not sure, it might start it. So you're just going to change it. You love your dog, but you're in love with your husband. Well, I want to punch people like that. I think a boxing glove should come out to wake them up. There's plenty of different. There's a whole world out there. In India, the women had rubies around their neck for engagement, and the nurse I was working with, she said, Jesus Christ, I got to get a fucking diamond, because she was so sick of people saying, but you don't have an engagement. Like, unbelievable. I said yes to the dress. You couldn't put a diamond on me. Well, I would sell it, but you could give me one. I would sell it. But yeah, whatever.
Well,
so again, that's the stigma. If you're doing it differently, therefore there's something wrong with you.
Right. Well, it's not even just about love. I mean, we homeschool our kids, and I can feel a stigma against that. And I know in my heart that it's the right thing to be doing with my kids because that's what they need. But it's similar in the aspect that there's a stigma against it, and there's definitely people judging it, and you hear it, you hear the mutters, the mumblings.
Mm-hmm. And as humans, we can't help but judge because we have opinions on just about everything.
And we're tribal.
Especially, I think here in America, best, we're the greatest, so we grow up, we're the best, the greatest. I used to wonder, how does someone from, Zimbabwe grow, do they think they're the best, the greatest? No, we're all John Waynes over here. So there's a couple of flaws that we have where, I know for me, it was a pet named Willie and my son Adam that helped me get completely on my road to wellness. And I'm one of the things Joan and I were very upset about, because being therapists ourselves, former therapists, we heard people, including ourselves every once in a while, judging. Yes, the other people, the people sitting in the chair, the people that were behind the glass in the locked psychiatric unit. And so I don't know if people know that there's stigma everywhere. And
Right.
The only way to break it is to be that person you're looking at in the mirror.
Right. So I know you talked to me earlier before this that you were going to be on a podcast earlier today, a God podcast, and you ended up not being on it. I don't like to get too much into religion, but I feel often when it gets into religion, I feel even more judged in a lot of ways, especially with subjects that we're talking about right now.
Especially because every religion thinks their people are the chosen ones. Like, one of my friends died of AIDS, and he was unconscious. And as people were walking to say goodbye, several of my coworkers were making sure, there he is, unconscious. You didn't accept Jesus, make sure, otherwise you're going to hell. It's like, wow, what the heck is going on here? So yeah, it was a big turnoff when I was younger.
Right. Kind of goes into something else you were saying earlier, where depending on where you're born in the world, you're born into different religions.
Oh, right.
Born into one religion, you're born into the wrong one.
I used to ask our mother that when I was really young, and she couldn't answer that. She would just say,
She
"Oh,
said,
stop
get
talking.
away from me, or go outside.
Go outside" is a big one. Figure that out there.
I know social media has a large effect on mental health. How have you tried? I know you're also big on being on social media. So how have you tried to shape that?
Well, actually, we're on social media, but can you believe it? We're Leos, and we literally scramble for a few dollars here and there for somebody else to post for us, because that's how
Because
difficult
we're
it is.
older.
Because people might look at us and go, wow, look at them, they're just doing so well, and then they post. No, we pay this beautiful, positive, young
Yes.
female that's really
Yeah.
pretty.
Just wonderful points of view.
She does it. So we don't even tell her what to post either. She just
Okay.
goes with it. But what I'll say is, we're on social media to hopefully, the Surgeon General said it's easy for people to come out with their own mental illness who are wealthy and they have a financial trampoline. But if the people within the profession, which is hilarious, very few have come out with their own mental illness. Until we come out with our own mental illness, our patients are always going to feel judged. You know, somebody said to me, depression is the worst. I can't even get out of bed. And that's the first thing people say. Get out of bed, shower. How about I can't get out of the bed? Give me one more thing to do. And so you have to start with baby steps. But anyway, we came out. People said, oh, you were brave. And still no one will come out. We know who has mental illness within the profession. They told us, but no one will ever admit it to a client. And
I feel like
air your laundry, but what?
I feel like that should have been handed to me when I first met each of my therapists. I've seen quite a few. That it should have been like a resume of their mental health problems, because then I would have felt so much more comfortable off the bat, like not being judged and
You know, it's the whole society. It's not just Western medicine or Western psychiatry or this country's psychiatry. It's when you look at a society, and if they view mental illness, let's call it depression, as a weakness, then we're doomed. So one of the things we try to do is show that it's none of these things are a weakness. These are just experiences. And you know, what is this thing called life if it isn't experiences and interacting with other humans and animals and the air and the trees? Because years ago, a heart attack was considered, oh my God, he is a weak individual. He had a heart attack. Oh God, can he even work here with the rest of us? I was pretty shocked to see that. It was Mad Men or something. Oh yeah, back in the
I was really shocked. They were really looking at him.
It was a big weakness.
He couldn't even do this stock market job. Isn't that funny? Now people who have diabetes, which type 2 is reversible, please, we know that. They almost orgasm over telling you, when you ask about their medical, oh, I have diabetes. Are you on any meds? No. Are you on any meds? Oh, a blood pressure pill. That's a meta-fucking-cation. One of the biggest that causes sexual dysfunction. Yet all the dudes were coming in saying, you gave me a psych med that causes sexual dysfunction. Nope, your dick's working with the medicine I gave. Think about the other fucking meds that you're on. And people forget that. So how unmanly is that? Anyway,
so the
people
society has to change their opinion,
Yeah.
their judgment, their point of view on mental illness, because it's just a convenient excuse to keep the mentally ill down. I saw a PhD, so a doctor, speak on cognitive behavioral therapy, and he was talking about anxiety and stage fright and all of that. And then he kind of said, but look at what we do when we're kids, and obviously grown-ups do this too, is we want to make up situations that are scary, whether it's a scary ride at the amusement park. And, you know, we have a friend who loves horror flicks, and what he loves is that thing that frightens you so much. It's the same chest pain, the same tremulousness, the same dry mouth. that you get when you're in complete fear with the bad guy, with the gun,
Or bad woman.
or bad woman with the gun. And so
I have to correct
he
you.
was trying to compare that, is like, change your point of view. And we knew also, and that guy's a musician too, but we knew another musician who I asked if he had stage fright, and he said, oh God, yeah, I love it. And I looked at him like, what? And what he loved was he really felt alive.
Different perspective.
I kind of understand the musician, because I go through, I do performances now, and the anxiety used to kill me. I would sweat and have out of body experiences, and it would just be a nightmare. But now there is like a thrill to the anxiety, and I look forward to it. I also fear it, but I do look forward to it. It's before going on stage and being on stage and feeling the anxiety makes it that much more exciting and gets the heart racing. And
There's a quote that says, everything you ever wanted is on the other side of fear. And it really is, that fear of relationships, fear of commitment, fear of being hurt, fear of all that stuff. It will keep you from living.
Yes.
It really will. And who cares if you're hurt or if you fail? If you failed, you know how good you get at it? Just like criminals, they get better and better at their job. And, you can perfect it too. The failing is wonderful. Like, poor young people, they don't realize I didn't even finish my bachelor's degree until I was 35. People are like, oh, how did you get a master's? Well, Jane got one, and she was making more money, was buying fantastic shoes. So I went and followed that. And then just to prove people wrong, because like she said, she was the smart one, so I was considered very ignorant. She didn't say that.
I didn't say that. Notice she said
no,
that.
you said it. That other people said it. Other people
I was
said
a not funny one.
But the whole point of the story is you being the smart one. So you ruined the story, because I don't know where I was going with that. So she was the smart one.
No, it's interesting that when you're younger, your fear of failing is so much greater, even though what happens if you fail has oftentimes less of an impact, or it's less of a big deal as when you're failing later in life, even though later in life you have less of a fear of failing. Does that make sense?
Oh, it does. Because you're right. Little kids, little problems, big kids, big problems. So people should welcome some failure when they're young, because, I had my first broken heart. I think I was 40, like a real broken heart, because like prior to that, I didn't really probably love enough. Mm-hmm. But it was harder than the things that happened when I was younger, where I didn't even experience the most love. So yeah, because like Joan said, practice makes perfect.
Right. Well, maybe I should tell my kids their failures more often, so that they. Okay. Is that not the way to go? Is that?
Because if people used to say, but you can't ride a bike, or not to me, but you can't do whatever. If people are like me, where it's like, well, watch, I'll just do it. Sometimes that's not a bad thing if you challenge. I feel bad for people that, oh, I can't do this. Well, sure you can. Have you ever tried? It's okay to fail. Because you mentioned social media might be affecting people's mental health or illness. Yeah, just realize when people are putting up the best. It's like the history books were written by the person who won. We didn't hear from the one who didn't win. That's why I don't even think history's accurate. Just hello, darkness, my old friend. I'm just going dark again. You should ask a positive question.
I was gonna get into comedy now, because that's one of my favorite things. After I'm depressed, a good comedy show is the way to go. No, you both are hilarious. You're really funny. You're entertaining. Did you do anything to strengthen the comedy in your duo, or?
Yeah, Jane told me I didn't have to think before I spoke anymore. Most people in my life say, can you count to 10? No. Can you imagine saying that to somebody who has Tourette's? Hey, can you count to 10 before you speak? No. So anyway, I was born with a brain tumor, and I used to have seizures. Well, they called them convulsions. There's a slight difference. I don't recall the
It's a
difference.
type of seizure.
Anyway,
Wait.
it hit something, a lot of names I get incorrect, and I believe that's why the universe is sending me today. No one gets my name right anymore.
Well, maybe that is your name, Joanne. Maybe your name is Joanne, and you just don't remember. It was,
Right.
affirmations, positive affirmations, for some reason in my head, I don't know if everyone else, it's got such a negative stigma to it. Like it's something to do with my childhood, hearing people make fun of it all the time. It was something people just, I can't believe they're reading that self-help book. I can't believe they have notes saying they love themselves. Like it's still stuck in me though. Like I've never done the positive affirmation.
So affirmations are just a style of getting something faster.
Yeah.
And when I say fast, please, we are a pill nation. Everyone, including myself, took a pill to get more immediate results. And
then do the
even,
affirmations.
hey, 4 to 6 weeks for an antidepressant to work. Yes, I took them, and that was okay with me as well. Because the other thing, having the picture of what I wanted in life, it was a lot harder. So with affirmations, I don't have 2 drinks at a wedding and then go smoke a cigarette with somebody.
Yeah.
Or if I tried, because believe me, I did try during those 3 years, it started to taste bad when it's not supposed to, when you're the smoker. And so that's the part where the affirmations come in and help a little bit extra with medication, with meditation, with whatever it is that you're doing.
So where's a good place to start with affirmations? Is there?
I'll tell you, sometimes I'm vain, and we're getting older now, and I saw these things hanging off of here, the cheeks and the jowls or whatever that is. So I started to say with affirmations, I have smooth and flawless skin. And it was pretty funny. I said it a lot. And within maybe a month, all it does, it just tricks your brain. It's actually science. I said it enough that basically I was more aware of anti-aging cream. So people say, yeah, but how did you get the smooth, flawless skin? I put some fucking anti-aging cream, pore reducing shit on my face, and it actually worked. Right. So, you just start with something that's less fearful if it doesn't work. You might want a relationship with, I was going to say Zsa Zsa Gabor. Wow, am I out dating myself? Some young, hot thing you want. Yeah. Sophia Loren. She's younger. Yeah. You just start.
You want to date these women?
No.
A lot's coming out.
Yeah, you never know.
That's what it sounded like.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if it was a woman that I was going to say is attractive that I wanted to date when I was younger was Kate Moss. Kate Moss is gorgeous.
Yeah.
That was about it.
Can't disagree.
Yeah, she's really the prettiest.
But
Gwyneth Paltrow's pretty, but I don't know.
The point Joan is making is that if you want to start with affirmations,
I don't know what my point is.
She did start with something that's not that important to you,
not that threatening too.
That's not your most difficult issue. If I were to start with, I think I'm beautiful, that would never have worked. And I wanted to quit smoking. I had tried a few times and was successful for a week, a day, or this, or that. But again, so 3 years, that was a hard one. But something like road rage, which I had, but it wasn't that important to me. And when I was getting older, I started becoming less of an asshole on the road. I was a little more of a safe driver, just naturally, so that my affirmations around road rage worked a lot faster than the whatever was really, like, I'm not depressed anymore.
But what would the road rage affirmation be? You're not supposed to say, I don't have road rage. The universe heard road rage.
Right. That's like, I need to lose weight. I want to lose weight. I'm trying to lose weight. You're never going to lose weight. But when you say, I am at my perfect weight, and let's be realistic, ladies, I'm always going to be way more than Joan. I was born a half a pound heavier. I have been 20 pounds heavier.
So I am, or I have.
I am.
Right. Well, I've taken a lot of your time, and I definitely want to touch upon your book. So the name of the book is Under the Hood: How We Hotwired Our Brain, Calmed the Fuck Down, and Let That Shit Go.
That book really helped a lot. We wrote about all the trauma we had, not all. We did a Cliff Note version of our traumas, which was good to bring out. And then we did these
in a bit of a comedic way.
Very comedic way. People actually said they fell off their chairs laughing, and they felt bad at
Joan's expense. Mine wasn't as funny.
No, people felt bad for you too. And what we did was we then gave these tips of easy. I didn't want to do the work. Mental health is a lot of work. You got to look inside, do child work, your inner child. Oh my God, I didn't want to do any of that. So when we heard about these other ways of doing things that were simple and easy and actually laughable, we just chose that way, and it jump started. We have no more road rage. It's interesting. People come to visit us, they must be negative because all of a sudden they're in the back seat. There's road fucking rage. We didn't have anyone beeping the car at us,
Beeping the horn.
beeping the car, beeping the horn. Yeah.
Let me tell you how I got rid of road rage.
How, Jane?
Because I was horrible. But anyway, so like if someone cut me off, instead of giving them all those choice words and a particular finger, right? Or me then speeding because I am from the Northeast, I will cut you off, right? So instead of doing that, I made up stories where, he or she, they're trying to get to the hospital because their aunt is dying, or, if they're late for work one more time, they're going to get fired. So those were the kinds of things that helped me, pull
and
over.
some is probably true. There might be a cat or a dog that got hit by a car, and that person wants to get to the vet. So why we take it all so personally if somebody cut us off? Who cares? You were probably driving slowly or something.
Yeah, hogging that left lane, right?
Yeah, just because it's
Not
a couple
me,
of miles later.
somebody.
We all days out and do bad things driving, so it's hard to hold it against somebody when they might just be having one of those moments. So I know I do it at my neighborhood. I'm like, they didn't fully stop at the stop sign, and I very well know yesterday morning I was so distracted that I probably did the same thing. So it's Under the Hood, how we hotwired our brain. Calm the fuck down and let that shit go. So please check it out. You can also find the Therapy Twins at therapytwins.com.
The audiobook is supposedly the ebook is free, and the written portion, if you want the paperback, has 24 extra cards in it. Not cards, pages, and it's all these words of wisdom, because believe me, we have failed hundreds and hundreds of times. We're just trying to help you out. Just like everyone wants to watch Ted Bundy, he failed a lot and then he got better at it, and then whatever. But
Right.
People are interested in that. They're interested in his failures. So yeah, it's an excellent comedic book.
Okay, are you, if we get the audiobook, is it you two reading it?
Unfortunately, no.
We
And,
didn't like our voices.
Yeah, we didn't like our voices.
Oh.
So Joan wanted someone that sounded like
Hugh
I think it's like a Hugh Grant or a Benedict Cumberbatch.
And we didn't get them.
And what we got was a guy that does British, like Shakespeare stage acting, and so he is so Shakespeare-y.
We promised to do our own audio.
And we promise you'll laugh if you get the content read by this Shakespearean actor. It's wonderful.
Oh, okay,
Perfect.
that's it.
Perfect.
Thank
All
you.
right, well, thank you, therapytwins.com. And again, everyone out there, this is a Dweebs Global production where you can go for free mentorship help, anything from resume writing, mental health, all around the world, every language. There's somebody to help you out there. So dweebsglobal.org. And we'll see you all next week.